Hey guys, what's up? Brandon Lee with VirtualizationHowto, and in today's video, we're going to look at 5 Proxmox optimizations that I think are absolutely worth doing this weekend or whenever you have a free time to work on some Proxmox projects in the home lab. I think these are not just run-of-the-mill tweaks. I think these are real-world settings and improvements that I personally have been testing in my own home lab environment, and I think they can absolutely make a huge difference in stability, storage efficiency, migrations, network consistency, and just your overall management experience. So stick around and let's dive into these 5 areas that I think will improve your environment. If you're anything like me, your Proxmox environment probably started small. Maybe you had a single node running a couple of VMs just to experiment. Maybe you're running nested virtualization, running a Proxmox hypervisor in VMware vSphere. Then over time, it grew into something much larger. And maybe you have now decided to make Proxmox VE server your main hypervisor running your home lab. You've added clustering, shared storage, backups, VLANs, containers, maybe even running HCI with something like Ceph. You've got high availability, and now suddenly your home lab starts looking a lot like a production environment. Now with that, the interesting thing about Proxmox is there are a ton of small optimizations that can quietly make a huge impact over time. Some of these settings are easy to miss because they're not enabled by default. Now the first one is one of the easiest things to overlook in Proxmox, especially if you've created virtual machines some time ago. I recently noticed this issue in my own home lab environment where storage utilization just kept seeming to climb higher and higher, even though I was deleting data inside the virtual machines and I was on thin provision storage with Ceph HCI. Now, at first glance, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me because the guest operating systems showed plenty of free space. But the problem was that deleted blocks inside the guest were never actually being reclaimed at the storage layer. Now, this is a big one. If you're using thin provision storage, which most of us are these days, deleted blocks need to be passed all the way down through the virtualization stack to the underlying storage platform. Now, without the discard setting enabled, your storage usage will slowly grow forever, even though the guests appear to have free space. Now, in Proxmox, this is super easy to fix. If you go into the disk settings for a virtual machine, there is a checkbox called discard. By default, this is usually not enabled when you create a VM. And honestly, I think a lot of people, including myself, never revisit it afterward, especially once again, if you've created the virtual machine some time ago and either missed the setting, didn't know what it did, or you just somehow skipped over it. Now, once you enable the discard setting, deleted blocks can finally be reclaimed correctly. The second optimization is standardizing CPU types across your cluster. Now, this is something I've learned the hard way after having inconsistent live migration and those live migrations failing between Proxmox hosts. Everything in the cluster looked healthy, networking was fine, storage was fine, HA was fine, but migrations would sometimes just fail depending on which node I was migrating to. The problem turned out to be CPU feature mismatches, and this absolutely can cause issues. A lot of people use the host CPU type in Proxmox because it gives the maximum performance and exposes all the physical CPU features directly to the guest operating system. However, the problem with that is that this only works perfectly, especially in a Proxmox cluster, when all of your nodes are basically identical or are identical. And honestly, in home labs, from what I have seen that many are able to use, that may rarely be the case. We may have a mixture of mini PCs or some mini PCs, some real server hardware, some desktop hardware. It's a very heterogeneous node configuration for most home labs. When that happens, live migrations, especially when you have the CPU set to host CPU, can definitely be unreliable because that destination host may not support the same CPU features as the source. So that's what I was doing before I standardized on the named CPU models like x86-64 V2, V3, or V4, depending on the capabilities of the nodes in your Proxmox cluster. Now, this gives you a much better balance between compatibility and performance. Yes, you may lose a tiny bit of host-specific optimization, but I think what you gain in exchange for that is much more predictable migrations and stability within that cluster. And you can configure this directly in the VM hardware settings, or you can edit the VM config manually. Honestly, once I standardized CPU types, migrations just became a non-event, dramatically more reliable. And this is especially important if you're running clustered workloads or HA, because when you think about it, the whole point of having a cluster with HA enabled is having that flexibility and mobility of those workloads that can move between more than one of those nodes in that cluster, so you can perform maintenance operations and other types of workflows there. Now, the third optimization is moving networking over to Proxmox SDN. I did a whole video on this last week, so do check that video out. Now, I admit that this one was one that I originally avoided. I thought SDN would add just unnecessary complexity, and I thought the traditional Linux bridges and VLANs were already they were working fine, and they were. But after spending more time experimenting with Proxmox SDN, I actually think it is one of the most interesting improvements you can make in a modern Proxmox environment. Traditionally, we manage networking directly through Linux bridge configurations, and through that construct, you have those VLAN interfaces on every single host. Now, that works, but it also means that you have to manually maintain that consistency across all the nodes in your cluster. So if you accidentally configure one node differently, you could have weird issues potentially start happening over time. And this is where I think Proxmox SDN is low-hanging fruit. You don't have to get into all the advanced features of SDN. You can simply use it as a centralized management control plane for all of the networking across cluster nodes. And I like to think of it like the vSphere distributed switching that you get with ESXi and VDS switches with vCenter. The fourth optimization is enabling dynamic HA balancing, and this was made available starting in Proxmox 9.1.8. This is one of the newer features that I think is actually really exciting because it starts to push Proxmox, I think, closer towards intelligent workload distribution. Historically, Proxmox HA was mostly about the recovery of an environment. If a node failed, VMs restarted somewhere else. That's pretty basic. Balancing those workloads across the cluster it felt a bit manual in Proxmox VE clusters. However, that changes with the new dynamic balancing capabilities in 9.1.8. Now the cluster can start redistributing workloads automatically to improve resource utilization and smooth out uneven node loading. Now, I want to point out this is not identical to VMware DRS if you're used to that. However, it does bring it closer. There are definitely still differences in how aggressively workloads are moved and how placement decisions are made, but honestly, it feels like Proxmox is moving in the right direction. And this becomes especially useful, I think, in home labs because our environments are usually not perfectly symmetrical. So having this means to balance those workloads is going to be a great new additional feature. The fifth optimization is improving visibility with modern Proxmox tools. This is something I think that is becoming increasingly important because the Proxmox ecosystem is growing very rapidly right now. And honestly, it reminds me a lot of the excitement that we had years and years ago with VMware until things have massively slowed down under Broadcom. There are a lot of newer tools starting to appear around Proxmox that help to fill those operational gaps and improve visibility across your environment, especially as clusters become larger and more complex with more nodes. A few of the tools that I've been testing recently include tools like CV4PVE-report, the CV4PVE-diag, the Tainer tool, and Pegaprox. Each one of those tools, I think, solve different problems, which is something I really like about this growing ecosystem around Proxmox. Some are focusing more on diagnostics and reporting. Others are improving management workflows or providing better visibility into what's happening in the cluster. But once your environment grows beyond a single node, running only a handful of virtual machines, you start realizing pretty quickly that your tooling matters a whole lot. And good tooling saves time and improves troubleshooting, and it gives you much better visibility into the health of your Proxmox environment. At the same time, though, I still think simplicity matters a lot in the home lab, and I always try to avoid overcomplicating my environment with running too many overlapping tools or management layers that can add unnecessary overhead. So in my experience, the best tooling setups are usually the ones that are the simplest, that solve a real operational problem that you've ran up against without adding a lot more complexity in the process of solving that additional problem or issue that you're facing. So those are the 5 Proxmox optimizations that I think are definitely worth doing this weekend. Enabling discard on your VM disk so that your thin provision storage can properly reclaim those unused blocks over time. Standardizing CPU types across your cluster. This really helps to improve migration consistency, and it also helps to reduce compatibility issues between hosts. Moving your networking to Proxmox SDN for centralized management and much better consistency across the cluster. Enabling the new dynamic HA balancing capabilities in Proxmox 9.1.8. helps to improve workload distribution and resource utilization. And finally, improving visibility with modern Proxmox ecosystem tools that make day-to-day management easier and more efficient. Honestly, these are all optimizations that I have personally learned through experimenting in the home lab over time. Proxmox has a lot of settings and features that are not always immediately obvious, especially if you're coming from other hypervisors. But once you start understanding how these pieces work together and how the different optimizations affect your environment, the platform definitely becomes much more powerful. Well, definitely let me know down in the comments which of these optimizations you are already using and which ones you are planning to implement next. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely hit that notification bell so you don't miss future Proxmox, home lab, virtualization, Kubernetes, Docker, and infrastructure content here on the channel. Well, thanks again for watching. Stay safe out there, keep on home labbing, and I will see you in the next video.